Three, two, one. What's going on, everyone? We're here with Greg from Plant-Based Nutrition in Ireland, and I met Greg. When did I meet you, bro? I met you about 2-3 years ago at
the UK Fruit Fest.
At the UK Fruit Fest, yeah, we meet amazing people at Fruit Fest, and now, and then last year, like last minute before we were leaving the festival, I was like, bro, like you're really good shit. Why don't you come to the Canada Fruit Fest and maybe give some classes on breathwork and cold exposure and just all around healthy living. And then I think what ended up happening was like it was so last minute that you're like, screw it, I'll come. You came, but I don't even know if we like had our stuff organized in the back end to get you on the schedule in time because like the schedule was already pretty set. So I don't know if you were officially on the schedule or not. Were you?
No, I wasn't officially on the schedule, but because of 30 hours to get there. I mean, yeah, I was pretty tired, but I didn't give any official classes on the schedule, but I did teach some people one-on-one and maybe like in groups of 2 and 3. I taught them some Wim Hof method.
Right. Yeah, that was right. And then again at the Woodstock Fruit Fest later, like a couple weeks later, or I guess the following week, you went to UK Fruit Fest and Canada Fruit Fest, and you went to Woodstock right after. And we saw each other at 3 of these festivals. And then at Woodstock, you literally taught like these underground classes. Like they have like this big area, and then underground is like this room, like this secret private room that you were teaching these morning classes in. That like it was like invite only. Like nobody was like saying like, hey, everyone come to these classes. It was just like, psst, have you heard of Greg's underground classes? Like, what?
Yeah, well,
I want to go to those.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny. So there was a couple of people who I taught the same way, like off the schedule at the UK festival, and then a couple of people who I did in the class at the Canada Fruit Festival. And then they obviously came to Woodstock, and the numbers were bigger, and they started to tell people like, hey, he's a Wim Hof instructor in training, and there's only about 300 certified Wim Hof instructors in the world. So it's kind of rare that you get to be taught. Like I trained with Wim for just over a year, so I could train people, and so no one wanted to miss that opportunity. But at the same time, we didn't want to make it so that it was a huge room full of like 100 people, and then it gets kind of the effect might get lost.
Right. Well, like you said, like Woodstock did have more numbers, and so like every morning there was this big group. There's probably like 30 people in that room, and then doing the breathwork with everyone felt really, 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 really nice. Now I love this story about you doing this because it's like so many people want to teach things in life, or they want to like get to a certain position in life, but they wait for other people's permission to do it. They're like, well, I'm not certified, or they're like, well, I'm not like on the schedule. Or I haven't been given like permission. It's like, why do you need permission? Greg just does it because he absolutely loves it. So if there's something you want to do in life, just do it. Don't wait for permission. I was in no way certified to start this festival. I'm like, screw it, let's start a festival. Like, who am I to start a festival? But just because I eat fruits and vegetables? Just because I make YouTube videos? Like, I've never done a festival before. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I just figure it out. And Greg, I don't think he's ever taught these big classes before. And he's like, screw it, I'll figure it out. So you start small, keep going, and the next thing you know, you're on the schedule at the Canada Fruit Fest.
Well, that's exactly it, and that's what happened. So UK Fruit Festival, maybe the maximum number of people I taught was 10 people, and then the Canada Festival was around the same. And then by the last day of the Woodstock Festival, there was something like 40 people in the room.
Yeah.
And so, it's like you said, I didn't walk in and say, oh crap, there's 40 people here. I've never done this. Maybe we shouldn't have the class. I just said, right, I got to change the layout. I got to speak a bit louder, but I'm just going to make it happen. So
yeah, dude.
That's what happened.
That was great. So, bro, tell us one thing about you that people can really give a flavor for who you are and what you're all about. So the question I want to ask you is like, what's something that you really believe in that not many other people believe in or are even aware of?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. Well, I think this is definitely a belief that maybe a lot of people aren't aware of right now or have, but they are coming around to the idea that how incredibly powerful your body is, and this whole movement of, I don't want to call it hacking, but they call it biohacking, where you use your own body system. So a big one is obviously raw food. Like in the mainstream world, people say, oh, you can't survive on raw food. You can't eat mainly fruit. Like that's crazy. But we know, and everyone who's been to a festival, they learn that not only can you survive, but the energy levels, the mental clarity, everything that you achieve is far beyond what you could on the standard diet. And then I obviously discovered raw food first. And then when I came across breathwork and the Wim Hof method, it was this idea that the most simple act that you do, which is breathing. I mean, everybody does, you breathe since the day you were born, hundreds of thousands of times a day, but it's an unconscious act. And it's this idea of how you can take something so simple and train yourself to breathe more efficiently and deeper. And it's a great practice because you can feel the effects immediately, but then over time you notice your energy levels go up, your mental clarity goes up, your focus, everything goes up. So to summarize that answer, I would say that it's something that how powerful you are internally, and everything that you kind of need is actually available to you already.
I love that, dude. I love that. I love this idea of stacking things as well. It's like you take the raw food diet and you stack it with breath work. You stack it with meditation. You stack it with perhaps no fap. You stack it with early nights, right?
Yeah.
And
well, it's funny because this is something that at the Canada Fruit Festival, this is the first fruit festival that is probably ever going to have, obviously, the raw food diet, and it's going to have the breath work together. And something that most people probably aren't aware of is that if you talk about energy in your body, every cell in your body has what's called mitochondria, which are the power plants of your cells. And they need two things to produce energy. So they need glucose and they need oxygen. And the one thing you're going to get enough of at any fruit festival is going to be glucose, obviously. But then when you combine that with breath work, you're giving your body the two ingredients that it needs in quantities that you haven't probably experienced your whole life. And so everything is just going to stack.
Dude, I love that. I love that. Yeah. And I remember you said that too at one of your classes. You said like, all right, everyone here has been breathing since they were children. Mm-hmm. And yet in this class today could be the time of your life for the very first time that you take in the most amount of oxygen in the shortest amount of period. Ever, in the first time in your life. You know?
And that's what most people don't realize, again, because everyone thinks, oh, well, I breathe every day, all day. I don't have to think about it. But if you watch a newborn baby breathe, a baby will breathe from deep in its abdomen the whole way out and in. So they're taking on 100% of the oxygen the system can take on.
That's dope.
But then as we grow and as adults, we spend a lot of time sitting down, we hold tension in our bodies. Most people don't realize, and it's funny, even listening to this, they're going to start to think that I'm breathing quite shallow. And so if they breathe shallow, and let's say the average person only takes in about 50% of their lung capacity, that's 50% of the oxygen content that could be going to your cells.
Yeah.
So when you go to one breathwork class, like let's say, for example, your first full day at the Canada Fruit Festival, you wake up in the morning, you go to a breathwork class, and for the first time, let's say you're there and you're 20 years old, you haven't taken a full deep breath of 100% of your oxygen capacity, maybe since you were 2 or 3 years old. And so there's this profound, you feel tingling, and people say like, they kind of get a bit confused because they think what's going on. And it's actually just oxygen levels in your body reaching their maximum point. And that's just something that people haven't physiologically experienced in a long time.
That's so cool, bro. Now, tell us, what would you say are like the top 2 benefits of doing breath work? Like it's cool to understand the fact that we haven't really breathed as deeply as we possibly could, and it's easy to understand the fact that we probably are breathing shallow every day. But what's the point of actually doing breath work? Like, what benefits do we get?
So what I've explained, like you said, about breathing deeper, and that's physiological benefits, which is great. But for me, and you know this from we've talked before, is that back in my teens, I suffered quite badly with things like anxiety, and that's something that grips a lot of people, especially nowadays. And so when you do something like breath work, there's the mental benefits. So people experience most of their lives just with modern life in fight or flight response, which is the panic anxiety area. And fight or flight actually has an opposite system, which is called rest and digest. And most people, unfortunately, spend too much time in fight or flight, and they never get to the rest and digest state of being, which is the relaxed state of being. And so what's interesting, and I get this from teaching the Wim Hof method in the breathwork classes, is that someone can come in and they can be quite anxious and on edge. And in one class, so if they come in, let's say Canada Fruit Festival, we have a class at 7 a.m. By 8 a.m., through the breathing technique, you actually, by focusing on their breath and make them breathe consciously and deeply, they bypass the thinking part of their brain and they actually flip over into rest and digest. And this is scientifically proven. This is not a kind of theory. And so the mental peace that someone gets out of it is something that, is really powerful because it's non-invasive. You didn't take a Xanax, you didn't take antidepressants, you did it in your own strength just by being simply guided. And secondly, it's something that you can learn at the festival and then take away with you, so that you know that when you leave that festival and you're in a situation in everyday life at work and you're panicking, and you know that you can, okay, take the deep breath, take the deep breath. So that's the well-being aspect on the mental side is huge. So that's a huge benefit, I would say. And then the second benefit is, breathwork is like anything. It's like yoga or meditation, where you can feel the effects immediately, but with long-term practice, what you'll realize is that your automatic breathing. So when I'm sitting here talking to you, or you're in everyday life, will just subconsciously, that will just become deeper and deeper and deeper. And so when that happens, I mean, there's the basic benefits that you strengthen up your abdomen and you're taking in more oxygen, but it keeps you in a calmer, more relaxed state as a baseline, which is a really powerful thing, because you know yourself, in the modern world, it can be chaos going on around you, but it's how you hold yourself and it's how you stand in the chaos and in the kind of the eye of the storm. So it's something that people will get the benefits and feel the benefits of immediately, the same way you did when you did the classes last year. But practicing it long term, then you just keep improving. Yeah,
love it, dude. And a really cool thing about doing meditation, doing breath work, is that you don't need to take a pill to feel that way. Like, people take pills all the time because they want that effect, and the effects are nice for sure when you're coming up on the effect. That's why everyone takes them over and over again. But the thing about taking a pill is that there's this massive come down, and the come down is when all these issues start to arise, all these diseases start to form. But with meditation, with breath work, like, you just come up and then you just kind of level out, and you come up and you level out. But there's no like strict come down. So it's a really nice thing about doing meditation, doing breath work, is you don't need to take this pill. Sure, you could get similar effects from taking a pill, but you're going to have to suffer the consequences of doing that. And with this stuff, it's just up and up and up and up. It's really nice. And then the second thing you touched on was the fact that when people leave the festival, they get to take all this stuff with them.
Exactly.
And it's like, putting money, coming to a festival and learning all this stuff and creating all these memories. Those are the memories, those are the techniques, those are the strategies, tactics that you can use for the rest of your life. You know?
Exactly.
It's got a lifetime guarantee on all the stuff we're teaching.
Ever been to a fruit festival before? Because now's your chance to make it happen. Now is your chance to have an experience of a lifetime.
Exactly, and that's something that I met you at my first ever fruit festival over in the UK, and that was a situation where I came along and I knew nothing really about raw food except for like watching your videos and watching people's videos, and I knew the kind of basic principles. So I learned about diet, but then there was all the stuff about vision boards and the mindset and setting big goals. And I went to one of your talks, and you can see it in you, is that's a technique that you've applied to get where you are and start the festival.
Yeah.
And then that's something like, so let's say, for example, my breathwork instructor, who was Mr. Wim Hof, it took me the entirety of 2018 to qualify for that. But on the 1st of January 2018, I made a vision board, and one of the pictures was Wim Hof, because, hey, that's going to be my goal. One of my goals this year is I'm going to qualify. And it's funny what you're saying about, you get the high naturally. He has this expression about getting high on your own supply. And I think that just sums it up perfectly.
Yeah, beautiful, bro. Beautiful. Now, I want to ask you something. With regards to Fruit Fest, what would you say would be like the one thing that you personally are most looking forward to experiencing this year at the three festivals, at the UK, at Canada, and at Woodstock? Like, fruit festivals in general, what's the one thing that you go for every time and you get?
Well, the one thing that I always get, and it's so intangible, but it's the people and the community and the energy that's created there. Because you can look at the advertisements for the fruit festival and you see the lineup, you see the schedule, you know what the food's going to be like, the venue, but it really is the people that you meet. So I booked last minute to go to Canada Fruit Festival last year. You sold me on the idea. It's the first one, come over, let's see what happens. So I went over and I knew you, I knew Ronnie. I didn't really know who else was going to be there, but I just showed up on the day and I had my one-man tent, and I met people at that festival in the 4 days that I've spoken to pretty much every week since that festival, which is 5 months ago, and they're all based around the area in Canada, and some were from the US. And I was telling them, I'm going to be teaching breathwork this year, and they're all going to book tickets to come back. And so it's something that for me, it's funny because it's the energy at the festival and the community. Like you just know by the fact that the person is also there that you have so much in common. You don't even have to sit down and say, hey, what are you into? Blah, blah, blah. You just know by the fact that they're at the festival that they're already like you and you're going to get on.
Yeah, dude. Totally. I love that. I love that. I love that. Now, who's someone at the Canada Fruit Fest last year who really stood out to you?
Someone at the Canada Fruit Festival. Well, there were so many. I mean, if I could cheat your question, I'm gonna say two people. I'm gonna say someone I met who was an attendee, and then someone who was a presenter, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sweet. So I met this guy called Matt, and I met him on the first day. He just walked up to me and he was like, "Hey, I'm Matt," and I just shook his hand, and we just became friends from that day. And
how cool is that, dude? It's like high school, right?
Yeah, exactly. He just walked over and he was like, "I'm Matt," and we spoke him pretty much every day. And he's from Saskatchewan. Is that a place?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's funny because we keep talking over Instagram, and we've emailed a few times, and he just booked the ticket to the fruit festival because someone in his family had been unwell in the previous years, and through his own research he found that the raw fruit diet is the healthiest diet you can do, but he knew nothing about it. And then he just saw there was a festival and he said, hey, I'm not a raw vegan. I've tried to transition to a vegan diet. I'm just going to show up at this festival and see what happens. And I've been speaking to him, and since the festival he's already told me like he's lost like 30 or 40 pounds.
I was gonna say, was Matt that bigger guy?
Yeah. He's not the bigger guy anymore.
No.
He's completely changed. So that's what he was saying, was that the festival just completely, because it was like me and anyone who goes to the first festival, is that you don't encounter these kind of people. A lot of your friends might not be into this way of eating. And so it's also the problem is that if you try and suggest that idea, they might shut it down because they don't watch the same things, or they have a different mindset to you. But when you show up to a festival, then he was just thrown into this world, and the fact that he could meet other people who, they have normal jobs, like they live in cities. I think he's a dental assistant, and he probably had the fear of the sugar and the teeth, and it's going to destroy my teeth. But he's moved to a raw diet, and he's really changed his life. So he's the attendee that I would say really stood out to me. And then on the presenter side, so the lineup last year was insane. I mean, you had Elise from Raw Alignment, you had Raw Vanna, Johnny Juicer was there, Doug Graham was there. I mean, there were so many people. But I went to pretty much all the talks, and everybody was so awesome because they gave their talks, and then you could just walk up straight afterwards and say, hey, because some people don't like asking questions in front of a big group, but the presenters hung around. And I went to one talk that Elise gave from Raw Alignment, and the title of the talk was The Evolution of Raw Alignment.
Nice.
And you can look at Elise now and you can say, okay, she's got probably 500,000 people on Instagram and the same on YouTube, and she runs her own business and she does these retreats. But what I loved about her talk was she started from, okay, this is how I started. I was just in my bedroom and I turned on my webcam and I made a video about how I wanted to turn vegan, and say 10 people watched it in the first week. And she just talked about how, and it's funny because when you go to these festivals and it's new to you, you can look at people like you and Elise and Johnny Juicer who have these massive social media followings, and you think that they're almost like, oh yeah, but they're them and this is me, and we're on two different levels. But that talk was amazing because there was about 40 people in the talk, and she just started out from, I started exactly where you were. This diet was new to me. I decided to try it out. And what I really liked was she was brutally honest about how people around her didn't understand it, and also she was a little bit self-conscious about putting herself out on social media, and that was something that everyone could resonate, because it was like, oh, you actually are human in a way.
Right. Yeah, dude. Yeah. If you ask anyone who met her the first year of Woodstock, that she went, she was like a quote unquote unknown nobody. I went to the Woodstock when she was there, and I didn't even recognize, I didn't even see her. She just, it was in disguise. And then just from creating content and from putting herself out there and telling the world what she's passionate about and just trying to actually help people, she became what she is now, Raw Alignment. And so many people, they have the same story. They go to a fruit fest, they get inspired, they go home, they start working on themselves a bit better because they've seen actual results. They've seen 3D people in real life that they can actually touch, and they can be like, this person's human, I want to do what they're doing, and I know I can do it because they told me I can do it, and they told me how to do it. Now I'm going to go and do it. I'm pumped. And then they have something to work towards for the next year. They want to show up at the festival being like, look at me now, you know? Like,
well, exactly, and that's what happened to me. Like, I went to my first fruit festival. The UK one I went to was in 2017, and then a few weeks later I went to Woodstock. And within 10 days of coming home from Woodstock, I had started Plant-Based Ireland, which is my company. And so that's been going now for nearly 2 years. I'm at the point where so much is happening. I'm doing wellness talks. I'm doing events for like 150, 200 people. I'm actually in talks to be put on a TV show on our Irish network as a nutritional coach, if you can believe that. And that was all because I came from, obviously I worked a normal job, I went through formal education system. And then when I showed up to Woodstock, and it was just people talking about how they started and where they are now, it was so inspiring that within 2 weeks of being home, I'd already launched my business.
Yeah, dude, that's the power of fruit festivals. And it's like, the only reason the UK Fruit Fest was started was because Ronnie went to a fruit fest. The only reason I started Canada Fruit Fest was because I went to a fruit fest. The only reason Ronnie and I met each other was through a fruit fest. The only reason you're coming to Canada Fruit Fest was because you went to your first fruit fest. It's all about your first fruit fest. Like, just, if you've never gone to a fruit fest, you'll never forget it. It's just absolutely mind-blowing. Like, I kind of have, like, half hazy memories of my second, third, and fourth fruit fest, but my first fruit fest, it's like losing your virginity. You never forget it. You never forget that girl. If you're a girl watching this, you're never going to forget that guy. You know? You may, you know, you kind of forget maybe the second and third one or something, but like that first one, you never forget. It's just so powerful. So for anyone watching this who's considering coming and you don't have your full access pass yet, you're definitely going to want to head over to canadafruitfest.ca/tickets and pick up your full access pass. You've got a code, don't you? People can use your code to get a discount.
I do. So this is the first time I've ever had a discount code. It's pretty exciting for me. So my discount code is PBGCFF19.
What's the PBG stand for?
Well, my name on Instagram is Plant-Based Greg.
Okay, so PBG CFF 2019?
Like, just 19.
Just 19. All right.
Yeah.
PBG CFF 19.
19.
That's a code, dude. Everyone else has like these words. You've got like this cryptic code. Cool. Exactly. All right, dude. So let's wrap this up. Before we do, I want you to just tell everyone the number one reason why you think that they should come. I know we already touched on some ideas, but what's the one thing you tell someone if they're considering saying, oh, I don't know if I should make the flight, it's a bit far, or it's too expensive? What would you tell them?
Well, I would tell them that this is a 4-day event, and you may look at that and say, okay, well, it's only 4 days, but everything that you're going to get, you're going to be immersed in a group of a couple of hundred like-minded, positive people who are going through the same things you're going through. Of they live normal lives, but mentally they want something more. They want to do something different. So you're going to be around people like that who are going to become your friends for life. You're going to be around then presenters and mentors who were a couple of years ago where you are now, and they're going to explain to you step by step how they got to living their dream life, basically exactly what they want to do. And then you're going to get on top of that, you have some 100% delicious. With all the meals provided, some of the best food you're ever going to have. And then everything you're going to take from the health and wellness. It's not only 4 days. You're going to have an experience for 4 days, but that's going to be the catalyst for changing your life just going forward from here. So I could say a lot more, but I think that's been pretty good. Yeah, it's like 4 days of seed planting in your brain. Exactly.
And then another 361 days of it growing. So beautiful, man. So yeah, if you guys want to come, if you girls want to come, definitely going to want to use the code DGBCFF19.
It's PBG.
Oh, sorry. I'm thinking Daily Green Boost. PBGCFF19. I told you it was a code, dude. It was a code, all right.
Yeah.
So awesome, Greg. Thank you so much for getting on the call here. I'm having a feeling we're going to be doing another call in the future because this one was just so great. And awesome. You are officially the first presenter that we are announcing to the world, baby. 2019. This lineup, I'm super stoked on this lineup. I think it's the biggest Fruit Fest lineup in history. No other history has had this many amazing presenters and workshop hosts. So you are part of history once again, bro. I appreciate you coming on board. And this festival is just going to be absolutely amazing because of the presenters like you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you for your time, and I can't wait to get back to Okanagan second year.
Sweet, bro. All right, peace out. Much love.
Prepare yourself for 4 jam-packed days filled with education, motivation, inspiration, new friends, live music, high-quality fresh foods, hands-on workshops, and so much more. Want to come to a fruit festival? The 2019 Canada Fruit Fest could be the ideal experience you've been dreaming of. The magic unfolds August 9th through the 12th in the beautiful Okanagan Valley of Kelowna, BC. The 2019 Canada Fruit Fest, Canada's #1 plant-based health and wellness festival of the summer. Visit www.canadafruitfest.ca to learn more.